I wanted to welcome everyone today. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. I'll just share a little bit about myself, give you my 30-second elevator speech. And I'm Karen Long with Streamline Government Contracts. We are an outsourced solution for government contractors who don't need a full-time contracts manager. We also do help startups as well as more mid-sized and larger companies as well to help with surge support. So our best clients are clients who understand that contract management is more than checking boxes. And I was once upon a time a financial controller for GovCon. So what we do, which is our differentiator, is in addition to contract compliance, we also help with companies with profitability on their specific contracts. So again, Karen Long with Streamline Government Contracts. And my fun fact is that I'm an avid UConn Husky NCAA basketball fan. So I'm happy to see that our men are on the way back and our women are, continuing to do well as also. So now you guys are very fortunate enough to have Judy Bratt all to yourselves today. And I just want to go ahead and introduce her. So over the past 34 years, Judy has become an expert, not just in federal government contracting, but in how to build the relationships that we need to succeed in with federal buyers. As consultant, speaker, and author, she's helped thousands of established businesses, small, mid-tier, and large, find their fast track to success in the federal arena. Her clients use her proprietary players and layers methodology to get in front of the right federal buyers and to win over $200 million in federal business. You can pick up her latest book, #1 bestseller, Government Contracts Made Easier, 2nd edition on Amazon, along with her companion strategy workbook. So right now, let's find out more about how to make easier happen for you. Please welcome Judy.
Karen, thank you. Lindsay, thanks for making it all possible to bring us all together. I'm excited. Our mission today is to introduce 4 tools and tactics that my clients have used to win millions of dollars of federal business and answer your questions. Let's jump right in, shall we? Everything that I'm going to be talking about today are tools and tactics that are most suitable for companies that have experience, especially some kind of experience or past performance in the federal arena. These tools are useful and immediately practical for everybody who's in GovCon right now. And these tips are useful all year round, not just in federal fourth quarter. And for sure, they're things that I hope you'll jump in and want to use right away. Take some notes, get ready to take action. And for goodness sake, come off live, Mike, jump in. Let's make it a conversation. All right. I very much welcome your ideas, your experiences, and your questions throughout the course of our time together. And so if you've got challenges, if you've been frustrated or have an idea that you want to test out about, hey, could this work in federal fourth quarter? Let me know. All right. Agreed, everybody? Yes. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about ways that simple way you can power up your goals, give them meaning, bring them to life, and turn them into reality. I'm going to introduce the 12X factor, offer you 4 tips to close federal fourth quarter, and share some resources to support your federal fourth quarter success. So September 30th is coming. You're all here because you all know that September 30th is the last day of the federal government fiscal year. And for lots of our buyers, they have funding that is use or lose. Doesn't roll over. If they don't spend that money by September 30th, they're not only not going to get it, but they may get even less next year, because why would they give you more money if you didn't spend yours last year? Fun fact, in 46 out of 50 states, fiscal year end is June 30th. And if you do business with the government of Canada, federal fiscal year end is March 31st. So if you do business with federal, state, local, and the Canadian government, you get Christmas 4 times a year. But when I worked for my first 15 years in working in GovCon, I was actually a program manager at the Canadian Embassy in Washington, D.C. I helped over 5,000 Canadian companies win over $200 billion in federal contracts under the trade agreements, often partnered with American companies. But what would happen is that round about the middle of January, somebody would come traipsing down the hallway saying, I got a $30,000 extra dollars. I can help you. I had my February funding fairy file. I knew what project I wanted to do, who I wanted to do it with, how I was going to state the requirements, how I was going to put it on the street, and I knew exactly who I wanted to work with. And I had already traipsed down the hallway to the person in contracting, the mission financial officer, to say, Bill, what do you need so that I submit everything perfectly? I get the contractor I want. You get the perfect procedures in your file. Bill and I were very good buddies. After he was the new guy in town, new sheriff in town, he stopped all the spending at the embassy. No one was getting their contracts through. Everybody was furious. Why? As far as Bill was concerned, everybody was being irresponsible and not following the rules. So I thought, that can't be hard. I just need to know what Bill's idea of the rules was. And it's an interesting, and I mention this because you've got, and you'll hear me talk about this in a lot of my materials, there's players at 5 different layers that all have a role in every single federal office where you want to be successful. 2 of those layers are the end user layer, which was the layer I was in that job at the embassy, and the contracting shop. The contracting shop is the place where somebody has the legal authority to sign a contract that binds your company to your buyer, in this case, the federal government. In some places and agencies, the end user shop and the contracting shop, oh, they get along, they are helping each other, they're making things happen, they're changing the world together, they're excited. In other places, end users think that the contracting shop is the purchasing prevention department, and contracting thinks that the end users are just trying to squander all the money and they shouldn't be allowed outside to buy a pack of bubble gum. And so what's the case where you want to do business? Do you know the answer? You should. And one way or another, whether those 2 are combatants or they're partners, you need to know both of them if you want to be successful. That's a bonus tip. All of the things that we're going to talk about are made better when you figure out, what does success look like for you? So I want to take a minute, write it down, and or just call it out right now. How would you define success on September 30th for you in the federal arena? Would you define that in terms of number of leads? Would you define it in terms of straight up, how much did we win, Mom? Would you also define that in terms of how many referrals did we get from other people? How much business came to us because somebody liked us and just had them knock on the door? How many proposals did we write? What percentage of them did we win? How much work did we get through modifying contracts we already have in place? How much win did we get through teaming partners? And how much did we win? I love this one, through under the radar work. Maybe somebody bumped up a blanket purchase agreement and threw more money in the pot. Maybe it came from a conversation that someone had in the account. One of my favorite stories with federal fourth quarter is how the Jennifer Rhodes, who at the time was executive vice president for Tegents, she was in Washington headquarters service in the Pentagon, dealing with some legal requirements that the agency had for archiving and documentation. And they had done a $10,000 project. And they followed up, and she asked the contact in the Pentagon, hey, if you were me, who else would you be talking to? They said, those guys over there. So they did a capability brief. They made a kind of a generic case study. They had conversations. And within 6 weeks, something that started out as a $10,000 contract, within 6 weeks, because it was coming up on fiscal year end, having the right conversation with the right person and following up, led to a $1 million contract award, sole source, awarded by the end of September 30th. Who wants that kind of experience? Your mileage may vary, but so it can happen for you. It can happen for you, Ray. And we're going to talk about some of those ideas of how. Writing down your goals is super important. A Harvard Business School study showed that 84% of the graduating class had no goals at all. 13% of the class had written goals, but no concrete plans. 3% of the class had written goals and concrete plans to achieve them. 10 years later, those with written goals but no plans are making twice as much as people with no goals at all. So guys, how hard is this? Get twice the results, write down your goals. But the 3% of the class that had written goals and a plan were making 10 times as much as the other 97% of the class. Who wants to be in that 3%? That'd be me. All right. So you have something you can put to work right away. Have a goal, make a plan. So what's going to be in the plan? We're going to give you some ideas today. Focus on the best opportunities right now. Where are those? Well, that takes us to one of our other tips, the 12X factor. Here it is. Research shows that someone who has already paid you money is 12 times more likely to buy something from you than someone who has never heard of you. I'll flip that over. If you're not actively calling on and wooing and staying in touch with the people who are your current clients, you're working 1,200% harder than you need to. I don't know about you, but I don't have time for that. I had a really exhausting last couple of years. I don't need any more of that. So your current clients, what's the kinds of conversations we can have with them? If you start with the people you know are really powerful. For one thing, you can have a wish list conversation with them. And there are great time to do that is often. I'm going to pull another trick right out of the bag. This is a bonus tip. Between the second week of October, like the first week of October, everybody's doing mop up. Second week of October, fiscal year has just launched. Often people don't have authorization. Congress is messing around. There isn't money. It's real quiet, right? It is a wonderful time to get in front of your federal buyers, chat with them. Gee, if they dump that bucket of money on your head at the end of the year, what would you do with it? What are all the things you wish you could do that they just haven't funded yet, but you'd love to do? What are the projects that where did it go? I have it here. If I had my magic wand, what were the things that you would absolutely love to do in a perfect world next year? And write those down, make some notes. And then earlier on in the year, when you have that conversation, you can come back and say, how's that wish list going? Is there anything on the wish list I can give you a hand with? Is there something you'd like? Maybe I could write up a statement of work for you that you could walk it across to contracting and make it easy to define. And so help them dream. Maybe the wish list isn't about you. It's okay. We are more than our capabilities. We are also our network. And so having a robust list of trusted partners, Karen and I are partners in a marvelous network of government contracting service providers, and we routinely refer work to each other. So who's on your referral Rolodex, your resource list that you can help people with? One of the other things that you can have a conversation with the people, 80-20. 20% of your customers probably account for about 80% of your revenue. Make the list of your A-list customers. They pay you on time. They come back for more. They send their friends. They know when your birthday is, those people. Okay. And so you're not only in touch with them to say, how's it going? Is there anything, you can write these things down. All right, here we go. How's it going? How are you doing? How are you doing really? We're in a fascinating and difficult, challenging time now, as if the last 2 years were not already enough fun. Now we're coming back to work. It's awkward. It's scary. It's uncomfortable. There are lots of people who have been doing just fine, thank you very much, hiding in the corner with the Zoom, and they don't really want to come back to work. More than one federal employee has talked to me to say that productivity of this particular arm of government that does a lot of research, their analysts are actually more productive when they're not in front of each other. They really don't want to come back to work. And so to just say, hey, how are you dealing with back to work? Make a conversation about them. And so even if you're not selling anything, even if they're not talking about their most immediate and aches and pains and needs in your swim lane, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. It's Dr. Maya Angelou. Her wisdom has everything to do with the power of human connection that we have, that we all have, and that too many of us overlook. Take the time to just find out how your people are doing. Then, if they say, hey, we don't need any of you right now, okay, great. But remember, they've already had an experience in working with you. It can feel awkward or embarrassing or like you're begging sometimes. Tell me who feels like that when you ask for a referral. Who feels awkward asking for referrals? Okay, Ray, here we go. This is for you and everybody who was thinking this and was too shy to put up your hands. Here we go. You write this one down, okay? Our business is growing and we're looking for new projects. Awesome. Who wouldn't want to talk to you? How exciting. Our business is growing and we're looking for new projects. If you were me, who would you be talking to? Easy. If you were me, who would you be talking to? Or who do you know who would like to have this superlative experience? Who do you know is a friend that you'd like to help them shine the way that I helped you shine? People want to help their buddies. We're human, right? And so sometimes the thing also to remember is that you're going to hear no, and you're going to hear no, and you're going to hear no. I want you, when you hear no, to just flip that over and just make it not now, not now, not now, because eventually it becomes now. I took a moment this morning to just stop and write myself a template that I could just cut and paste and tailor, because yesterday I had 2 people who told me, no, but they said not now. They didn't even say, call me back in August. They said, we will keep you in mind, blah, blah, blah. Now our brains make up a lot of stuff. And I thought, nope, I'm going to take a page out of the book of one of my clients, Elena Yearley. You know, when she lost on a federal proposal, you know what she did? She called up the contracting officer. She said, I want to congratulate you for finding the vendor who was the right one for you. Talk about gracious. And for sure, so the note that I wrote was, hey, I said, thank you for letting me know that this isn't the right program for you right now. I'm delighted that you have clarity on what's important for you right now. I'd love to keep back in touch. And by the way, now that you know what I do, who else do you know that I should be talking to? Keep the dance going. Okay, so who do you know who I should be talking to? Need anything else? What's going on for you? Is there anything else I can give you a hand with? This is one of the other ones. Again, this is the You Are Your Network. I said, if you've got a problem, a question, a thing, make me your first call. If I don't have the answer, I probably know someone who does. All right, juicy? Lots to go with? Suddenly, sometimes we go, what am I going to talk to my customer about other than maybe they're afraid I'm not doing a good job? There's always have something to bring them, which again, I'm going to dip into another bonus tip. I wasn't going to do this one. Actually, no, I'll wait for the bonus because I might cover it later. I don't want to jump ahead of my own stuff. So this is perfect. This was where I was going anyway. All right. Know what we can give them without getting into trouble. Now here's a quiz real quick. Drop it in the chat. All right. Can you give gifts to your federal buyers? Yes or no? Drop it in the chat or just come on and say. Ray says no. Matt says no. Lindsay says no question mark. I like that. No says Sohail. So first of all, form the legal definition. Thank you, Lynn. Lynn is winning our quiz today. Federal Acquisition Regulation Part 3 on ethics places a $25 annual limit on the value of a gift. Thank you, Lynn, that you can give to your federal buyers. Most federal buyers, I will tell you, are so risk averse that they won't even let you buy them a cup of coffee. They want to be squeaky clean. They do not want to be going and having somebody else in the next cubicle say, they took a cup of coffee from that vendor. No, nobody wants that, right? But I have news for you. This is super cool. Who's heard of the work of Dr. Gary Chapman, the five love languages? Who's heard of this? It's very cool stuff. It's communication stuff. And if you haven't read it, you should. He's had variations for 5 love languages of teenagers. What teenager does not need another love language with their parents? Or 5 love languages for military families. But based on that theme, I took this and I had created the 5 love languages of GovCon, because there are 5 things you can give your federal buyer, and they are completely okay, completely covered, completely legal under FAR Part 3. The first is time, by which I mean, when you're in a meeting with your federal buyer, be fully present with them. Make every minute count. Second, show up on time. If you're showing up, if you're going to a meeting or showing up on a call with the military and you're on time, that's late. Okay, on time is early. All right. Respect their time. If you say, I just have 10 minutes, do you have 10 minutes to review my capability statement? Then take 8 and give them 2 back, for example. So respect their time. Give them the gift of time. What can you do or bring them that could save them time? Which takes us to the next one. That's talk. By talk, I mean, be concise in what it is you have to say and ask, and be pleasant. Give them a great experience in conversation with you as well. And each of these kind of leads one into the next. Who here loves leaving voicemail? Hands up. Anybody? Okay. What if, where's my magic wand? Here we go. What if I could give you 30 seconds of uninterrupted attention right inside their head? Would you take that if I could give that to you? Who wants that? Okay. That's what voicemail is. That's 30 seconds of uninterrupted attention right inside their brain. How incredibly intimate is that? That's what voicemail is. Put the smile on your face. They can hear it in your voice. I had a conversation with Dottie Romo, who was at the time, she was a contracting specialist at the Department of Justice. Now she's one of the most senior executive service folks inside Treasury. I said, Dottie, why don't people return contracting officers' calls? She said, number 1, people leave mean voicemails. I said, Dottie, who would leave a mean voicemail? What's that even sound like? I said, you would not believe. I said, it goes like this. Hi, it's Sarah. It's Friday afternoon. You have not returned my call all week and I need this stuff for the RFP. Would you talk to me, please, before the end of the day? Click. She said, I'm not returning that in a hurry. I said, wow. We forget that our federal buyers, especially those in the contracting shop, they screw up. You know what happens with them? They could go to jail. They're implementing laws and regulations. They have auditors hanging over them. They have tiger teams auditing the auditors. Great environment. And if they don't execute the funds by the end of the fiscal year, their project gets executed and not in a good way. Audit, tigers, jail, execution. Great office, right? So being able to be appreciative and, hey, I don't know if you're the right person, hoping you can get back to me. If I check your email for details, sorry, I missed you. If I don't hear from you by Thursday at 2, I'll give you a call back first thing Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Take care. Even that's not hard. You want to be able to make those calls at a time of day when your head's in the groove and really you're making that call with love. Next one, tasks. What kinds of things could you do to make life easier for especially your buyer, your contracting officer? One of those, who has time to write a really clear statement of work and all the details and define what you want? You can literally, there's something called a white paper, but here you want to be able to draft a document. Make sure you strip out of document properties who wrote it. So it's really about as squeaky clean as you can make it. And you can share that with your with the contract shop or with the end user, say, gee, if this project came true, this might be a way to define it. Saves them time. So tasks. Third one, touch. Now, with that, I mean the emotional experience. In this case, you can't touch them, hands off, but you want to be able to care about them, to take the time to remember they talked about their sister in Nashville who is in chemo. Ask how their sister's doing. Ask, how does your family deal with spring break? Everybody's making the best decisions they can. It's hard. It's okay to care about each other as human beings. And even if they say no the first time, or I'm too busy to talk about that, cheer up. There's still a human under there somewhere. Persist. And things, thoughtfulness and thanks as well. The ability to write a thank you note. I had this conversation with one of my clients this morning to say, hey, you just got on 8A Stars 3. How helpful was your contracting officers? Oh, very helpful. So find out who their manager is. Write a letter on paper with a signature, put it in the mail, find out from an assistant what mail stop it's going to go to. Make sure that your contracting officer gets a thank you letter on their file. Don't make it generic. Say, what did they help you with? How did they help you? And as a result, what are you going to be able to do better? How cool is that? All inside, all perfectly legal under Part 5 of ethics. The fourth thing, lots of people think, I can't win without a GSA schedule. Cheer up. Data shows that lots and lots of purchase happens without GSA schedules. And even if your buyer, sometimes they tell you, you have to have a GSA schedule because they just want to make you go away. There's hundreds of examples of companies who have been told by their buyer, oh, you have to be on GSA. And they come back 2 years later, they've invested thousands of dollars and months of time. They say, I'm now ready. And they say, oh yeah, well, we don't use the GSA schedule. Whoops, you never asked us that. Data shows you how your federal buyer purchases. So be set up so you're able to do business with them in the way that they think is easy. And so look at the data. Federal procurement data system is now been replaced by SAM.gov contract data. If you don't know how to use SAM.gov contract data to get the facts on how the office that you're trying to do business with actually purchases, if you haven't got the facts, you better believe your competitor is in there and they are setting themselves up for the win. What could you do for your federal buyer for less than $10,000? And who can tell me why I'm asking that? Anybody? Lynn?
Credit card.
Credit card is, is part of it, but credit cards can be used for lots and lots of very, very high value things as well. You're close though.
And just a purchase of PO.
Micro purchase. If it's something's worth less than $10,000, you're a warranted federal purchaser can buy with virtually no competition. They're not supposed to do split up orders, but they can buy from you this afternoon, pay you on that credit card. And what do you have besides $9,999 in the bank? What else do you get?
Past performance.
Past performance, ding. You can say, I did business with the United States Marine Corps. It was a $2,500 lunch and learn, but I did business with the Marine Corps. In my case, it was Citizenship and Immigration Services. I did a $2,500 lunch and learn, but I did business with the Department of Homeland Security. Wins beget wins. Simplified acquisition. Now, who would like a contract for $250,000? Anybody? Understand Federal Acquisition Regulation Part 13 and have that conversation with the contracting team. Again, with lots of lead time, not on September 15th. To say, hey, I see you do some purchases using simplified acquisition. We're new here in this shop. How does that work for you? But look at the data first. See what they use simplified acquisition to buy. The key thing to remember about simplified acquisition is that the buyer has a lot of flexibility. And if they want to make 3 phone calls and award the work to you, they can do that. But this doesn't fall out of the air. They still have to know you and like you and trust you, which means focus or go broke. All right. You want to be showing up often enough, then they're developing ideas and you're the one who's always there for them. They know that every time Ray calls, something awesome happens. Ray always knows stuff. Ray always has good stuff for me. I wonder if Ray does this stuff. What do you do that is unique? Someone can award sole source to you if they can justify it based on you are the only business that provides this service or product at a fair and reasonable price. And so you've got to know how you stand out. Your federal buyer's under a lot of pressure to compete things, to show that they shopped. So you don't need to try to vacuum the universe to find sole source, but be aware that your buyer wants to show that they shopped, show that everybody had a chance, and still award it to you because they like you. And the rules will let them do that. As you get close to year end, speed of delivery can be a thing. Matt, that's one of those things where you can make a difference. You're offering a variety of office products and technology. There are some big contracts that could look like the easy button, but if you're in the neighborhood, you're close by, you can get it to them in 24 hours. At fiscal year end, that can be an advantage. So what kinds of products or services can you award quickly? So, do we have fun yet? I offered you these things, these 4 tips to close federal Q4. I want to stop for some questions and I will close with some resources to support your success. But I'd like to go around the room right now and just ask, what's your aha or your big takeaway from our session today? Either just come on live mic or drop it in the chat. What did you take away from our time today?
Judy, we've been talking to somebody at EPA for a year who wants to get to us and probably sole source. And I just scribbled down on my to-do list that we need to write the PWS for her. I didn't even think about doing that.
Awesome. Fantastic. So Hel, what was your takeaway?
Right.
Be courteous, be nice. You can hear me? Right, yeah, be courteous, be nice, and be patient and persistent.
Yep, exactly. Ray, what's your takeaway?
I mean, this might be simple, but I never thought about voicemail the way you expressed that, right? So how many times have I called anyone that I should get their attention and I just hang up and don't leave a voicemail? So I think it's a great way of just leaving them a voice note that they're gonna pay attention to. So I think that's a great idea.
Great. And I'm gonna pull something way out of the bottom of my toolkit. Okay. There's a technique that the top call teams in the country are using called double tap. So you call them, you expect you're going to get voicemail. You leave that lovely, warm, caring voicemail. And you expect to say, check your email. That's where the details are. And by the way, if I don't hear from you by Friday at noon, I'll call you back Tuesday morning. Now, suddenly you've set up in motion 3 different things. You have to deliver on these things, but you have the email already set up and ready to go. You hit voicemail, you leave that wonderful voicemail, you hit send. So, oh, good. Well, they get your voicemail. They see your email. Oh, they say they do that. They say they're going to do. And you have one more chance to deliver trust. You're going to call again on Tuesday at noon. And oh, you leave another voicemail, but aha, you put another marble in the trust jar. Now, twice you've done what you said you were going to do. You're showing that you're worthy of trust. You're building trust in those tiny, tiny moves. Excellent. Excellent. Miran, Gurpreet, what's your takeaway?
Hi, Judy. Yeah,
Hi.
The most important one, I think, for me was that simple line. I actually really wrote it down where you said, if we're growing our business, we're getting more projects. If you were us, what would you do? It's so simple. And yet, if they trust you and you're doing a good job, that's probably one of the ways, because most of the times what I found is that the current client that I work with, if you go to them and say, oh, we need cybersecurity on this project, we need the cloud engineers and this, no, we don't, because, they're always tight on budget. But I say, there's this project is spinning up under my director that does this and that. They may need a cybersecurity specialist. You may talk to this person. I think that was not very simple. Yeah. And you could use that methodology everywhere, in a convention, in a gathering, so yeah, I think that was my big moment, so that I quickly open my OneNote and then put it under my BD stuff. So.
Great. And I'm going to pull out something else as we remember to get back in touch with people and we're networking in person, especially when you do the introduction, you're meeting someone else. I love asking this, who's a good referral for you? Who should I send your way? When you say that to someone else, they in almost 90% of the time, they'll say, oh, who should I send your way? People want to reciprocate. They want to give back. Gurpreet, is there anything that's coming up for you? Any ahas that come away for you that stand out?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's, being fast and, kind of identifying your uniqueness. And here's the reason why, because a lot of my work has come this way where it's been the client liked it and then they referred me, right? So they referred me across the agency. Now that's great. But I think where I could probably utilize a lot of your advice is on how to expand on that advantage, which I don't think I've fully capitalized on it. And it's in as simple as even correlating to what I did to that new expanded or expansion of that. The other thing that I've still struggled with is with the micro purchase and the simplified acquisition. I think that's an untapped area for me.
Okay.
And that's something that I need to.
I've got resources for you, Gurpreet.
Yeah,
Cheer up.
yeah.
I've got, and so I'll see if I can share those as well. I haven't thought of that, but I will. So with that, I'll circle back to resources. Your next wins, set your goals for Q4 first. Second, I'm going to show you how to do this. Get the Q4 action guide. If these 4 tips were valuable, imagine having a full set of 10 and an editable action guide that you can use to put them to work. And use one of those tactics each week for the next 10 weeks. Then you'll be ready to launch when federal Q4 actually starts in July. You'll be ahead of the pack. And so this is a little bit of a subset of a 90-minute on-demand program that I offer that comes packaged with the guide. The Q4 Slam is one of my favorite programs. It's bite-sized and you can use it right away. 64-page booklet to implement all 10 steps. It's designed for companies with past performance and those who are also laying a foundation for the next fiscal year, because we're always working multiple years at once. It's proven practical tactics for continuous progress to federal wins. And so that's available for you right now, and you can check out more about it on my website. Something else, it's proposal season, and I was completely thrilled to get a call from a company who said, our CFO just told all of us to log on and get this thing and go buy this class. I was just gobsmacked. This is a 4-hour online training that one of my clients said, it is better than Shipley, better than Sandler. Now, I'm not trash talking anybody. I'm just saying what one of my clients said. These are 10 actionable, proven steps that people have won over $65 million in federal business. And it's broken down into 2-hour on-demand segments and editable tools. So that is waiting for you as well. If you want to bump up your proposal skills, and this is really including things about relationship building and bid, no bid, all the way down to the follow-up and submittal. So that's available to you as well, building blocks of a winning proposal. This is what I do when I work with clients. My research and my experience shows that when people want to be successful in the federal arena, they do 4 things. I used to think it was 3, it's actually 4. First, beef up and buff up your federal sales game. Understand what to do and what to say and what to ask to get in front of and build relationships at all 5 layers where you've got to know the people in order to be successful. The second thing people do when they're successful is make a confident choice based on hard data of where you're going to concentrate your efforts. The third thing people do when they're successful is build a structured federal sales plan around just those people and agencies. So you've got a methodical, systematic way to knit together the people you know with the people the data shows you don't know, but you need to know. And the fourth piece, use the plan. How hard is that? Actually, that's the hard part. which is why this is an 8-week private experience that I do when I work with individual client teams. Leanne, you and I worked together when I hadn't figured out the 4th step. And so rebuilding this in a way that gets people to actually do the work, the people who do the work that are successful. If you want to figure out whether we're a fit to work together, book a call on our Federal Business Breakthrough. And I do a limited number of those each month with qualified companies. If you do one of these with meetings with me, it's 30 minutes. You're going to come away with at least 4 steps you can take right away. And I got a book and a workbook. And so grab the book and the workbook. Lots of companies have found it useful. Please connect with me. If you've got other questions, awesome. Drop in the chat what action you'd like to take and by when. And please, please share your contact information. Connect on LinkedIn. Let's be in touch. Karen, you're on mute.
Thank you. So I had a few questions for you. Why, the fourth quarter starts July 1st for the federal government. Why do you recommend starting now or looking ahead, or why is it important to start? Yeah, again,
Conversations take time. Sometimes it could take you 5 or 6 calls and maybe 4 or 5 weeks to get in touch with the right person. If you leave that for July, they may or may not be on summer vacation. I won't quite say GovCons don't get summer vacation. We're all humans. We figure it out. But it takes time to get things started. And so even though lots of the spend happens in July, that business is being won by people who have started the work and started picking up the phone in October and November and December. You got to start early.
And, you've mentioned calling and contacting and leaving voicemails. How often is too often to contact someone?
We psych ourselves out sometimes. And so we're always afraid of somehow becoming a pest or thinking that they don't like us. Our brains make stuff up when we don't hear from people. And it doesn't take many calls in the eyes and ears and mind of the federal buyer to turn from the thing we're afraid of, fear of being a pest, to respect for our persistence. Because if we're showing up 5, 6, 7 times with that cheerful, determined voice, I know you're there. I know we're the ones who can help you, and I'm going to be calling you back. Or I'm the person who's been assigned to your account. Ooh, they know they're not going to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
Keep showing up. Okay. And even if you're calling 3 times in a week, that's not too much. Call at different times a day. Do not give up.
And then I have other people may have questions, but I have one last question. And I hear this from my clients a lot, that they feel discouraged or feel overwhelmed with everything that they need to do in order to get new business. Do you have suggestions on how companies or people can handle that?
If GovCon were easy, you chose the federal arena. And for me, that speaks to an incredible dedication and sense of mission and purpose that you have to make our world, our country, a better place by dint of bringing your products and services and expertise. That's special, first. So for a start, be grounded in why you're doing this. You have that altruistic sense of why you want to make a difference in the world, and stay grounded in what's in it for you. What's going to be better in your life, your family, for your team when you are successful. Above all that, though, you have the opportunity to tap the sage part of who you are as a human being. And every single time that you have the worries and the negative feelings and the fears of not making your dollars, not making your money, what if they don't call us back? All of that has roots in our survival stuff, the stuff that we were wired in our left brain to just, what happens if, and keep us alive. The survival brain is real hard to let go of, but we have the chance, and you can learn techniques, which I learned last year and found so powerful that I've become a coach in and started to build these these practices into my programs called Positive Intelligence by New York Times #1 bestseller Shazad Shamin. And so noticing that the negative stuff that comes up and going, wait, breaking the pattern and saying, how can I tap the powers of empathy, of self-compassion and empathy for my federal buyers as well? How can I innovate? What could I do differently? Play the sort of yes and game. How can I be driven by or navigate by my values? To look back on this 5 years or 40 years from now and go, what would I wish I had done in this moment? To explore what's really happening here and to be motivated to take action. You can learn how to kick yourself out of the negative and practice triggering all the sage wisdom. And so if that approach interests you, it's like an operating system that undergirds not just work, but all kinds of things you may want to accomplish and simply live better. And if that interests you, then we really need to talk, because I'm coaching a program in that as well that complements that for my clients. So we're 2 minutes over, Karen, but we also took a little minute to get to know each other at the beginning. If others have questions or you want to share, please, I'd love to hear from you.
Great. Thank you so much, Judy. That was an excellent presentation. And again, feel free to reach out to Judy. And thanks for attending.